everyone. Thanks for joining us. We were going to wait a couple more minutes for other people to join. But, at Henley, we keep things fairly informal, although we don't like to punish the people who are on time. So we'll get cracking. And thanks for joining us this evening for what I hope will be a really interesting info session. You can see I'm joined by Yusuf and Janet. I'll introduce them in just a second. But this is an info session. And you'll notice that there are three of us here. And there might be more people popping in. And we do these sessions the way we like to work at Henley. I say that as someone who does work at Henley. I head up the marketing department. And because I gave up telling very, very rude jokes after many years. And I came to study here first, actually, and loved it so much that I stayed. And I'm still studying. And I teach occasionally. But now I run the marketing. And so thanks for joining us. The reason I'm talking right now is that there are a couple of things that will make the session go a little smoother for you. So a couple of things. Use the chat. If you have any questions, please do throw a chat down. The reason I mentioned so many of us. Henley's quite a supportive learning environment. I certainly know that as an MBA student now. I've done a lot of stuff. And I think, Yusuf, if you check in the participants, you'll find our dean is there. If you could just upgrade him to put him on the panel. Thank you. There he is. Excellent. So here comes John. I was just saying, so please use the chat. Put any questions you might have in there. Somebody will get back to you. That's the reason there's so many people on the chat this evening is we'll watch the Q&A. While one of us is talking, the others watch the Q&A to make sure that everybody gets the answers they came for. So that's the first thing I just wanted to mention is you're going to find this little experience of what we like to call Henley life, a little bit of what it feels like to interact with the Henley ecosystem. A lot of support, and that I can tell you. And so I thought I would just begin by letting you know that my own experience studying at Henley has been much easier than I imagine it would be at any business school. I don't look like your average business school human being. And yet somehow I was welcomed in and I've been supported through what's quite I suppose, a complicated experience doing a master's in business administration by a triple accredited, international, globally accepted school with lots of awards. But funny enough, for a place that's quite fancy sounding, actually, it's quite fun, it's quite vibrant. There are a lot of creative people. You can see both Janet and John's backgrounds of the campus, not scared of a bit of art where we learn. The Henley Life behind me, the logo, will tell you a lot about a great combination. Henley, a proud British business school with a very solid history in teaching business, and then life, this vibrant kind of thing that happens, and your family and your partner and your interests and your creativity and all of those things. They all belong in the Henley life. So it's been a lot of fun for me to be here. So I could talk about this for a long time, but we respect your time. So I'm going to introduce our dean, John Foster Pedley. Hi, John. Thanks for joining us.
Hi there. How are you doing?
I'm good, and you?
Good. I can't see myself at all, so I don't know what I look like. So I'll just. I'm hoping it's okay.
You look pretty deany. It's all going well. So
I can see
John,
myself now.
I am the reason I came to Henley was because I met you and was so excited to learn after a long time of not wanting to learn, in fact, hating school. And then I fell in love with learning again. And that was largely because of the way that you like Henley to be. Can we talk just quickly a little bit about why you see learning in such a way that people like myself find it almost irresistible?
Well, it's funny, isn't it? I think we get so serious about learning, sometimes in a not a very good way. It's all about testing, and it's like the quality of your character and the value in your life depends on the quality of your mark, as if that is it. If you don't get A's and you're not going to become an accountant or professional, somehow you've let the side down in a desperate way, and you're sort of not rather frivolous human who doesn't have the seriousness. It's absolute rubbish. Because what you've got is lots of really intelligent people who don't learn like that. They passionate about life. They love their music. They love their friends. They love nature. They love so much around them. And it's like we want to channel them into these narrow syllabi. And these young and vibrant minds, they're not built like that. They need to explore and gather. But because we wanted to put them into an industrial world of all these things like counting money and building things, we kind of made sure they were serious and responsible and reliable and whatever. But the question is not so much about reliability. We need people who are inventive. We've got challenges facing now that all the old thinking won't sort out. So I think education, I think a lot of people who explore education early, some do very well in the system, some don't. And then they think they're terrible. But the fact is, most of us are given the same quotient of intelligence, more or less, although people don't like to believe that because they like to believe they're wonderfully gifted and special. But actually, our brains are pretty much similar. And I think what happens is that the way we educate at Henley, it encourages people to be more themselves. And then to discover that in their brains, they've not only got this creativity and this curiosity, but they actually have got the rigor and the depth and the discipline and all the other things that they were told they didn't have because they might not have got good marks. Or if they did get good marks, they then discover they've also got the imagination, creativity, and visualization. That you can have both these things. You can have the logic and magic living inside yourself at the same time. And that's a good thing, not a bad thing, because it allows you to look at uncertain situations and reinvent them and come up with better solutions and not be stuck in the past. So I like us to have a sort of environment at Henley that is lights people, sets people on fire rather than fills them up, is the old cliche of education.
Cool. There are two things I wanted to ask you, and then I promise you we'll move on. The first one is that there's a lot of talk.
But not literally on fire, not literally.
Not literally. Good, good. John, there's a lot of talk about the MBA being something which may not have a place in the future. I read a lot about that online, a lot of conjecture. I have to say, I don't know for myself if that's the case. I think it seems to me that what an MBA used to represent might have a limited place in the future. But it seems to me that the people that you describe, given the kind of skills that you learn at a master's level, could put them to new use in a way that would be very, very helpful in this challenging future that you describe. Would you kind of go with that idea that, an MBA is like anything else? Who do you give it to?
Well, I think an MBA can be thoroughly useless, actually. But they said that 30 years ago when I did my MBA. They've been saying it for 50 years. It just depends. If you see, there are MBAs and MBAs, and we never do competitive selling. But if you're just learning a bit of content you can learn from a book, and if it fills you with false certainty and arrogance, say, out of my way, I'm an MBA, then an MBA is deeply useless, and it doesn't have a place in the world. But what an MBA is, it's an opportunity. What a good MBA does is teach you about the quality of your thinking and your capability to invent new ideas, to make improvements in life. And it teaches you confidence in yourself. If an MBA makes you go to theory and just start telling people about, all these theories that people invented 30 years ago, and that as if that was something helpful, then it is pretty useless. But that's not what a good MBA does. And when I did my MBA, they had the same dialogue. A good MBA will always stimulate you to think more. It'll get you to understand you're going to learn more from the people around you than you will from the faculty, probably. Although the faculty are enormously clever. You'll learn more from your own reflections and your own experimentation than you will from the faculty. Because when you learn knowledge, you're just learning synthesized experience that other people did before. And they're saying, if you do this, you'll probably get this result. And it does fast track your thinking. And sometimes it helps you structure sort of partial thoughts you had, and it helps you make sense better. But if all it does is get you to talk, then it's useless. But a really good MBA is an activist thing. It makes you want to change the world. An MBA should be masters of business activism or masters of building Africa. It shouldn't be the marriage breakup academy or even the making babies academy. It should be, it should be doing something. And it certainly never was a master of business administration. You're not going to administer much with an MBA, but you're going to get into a place with more confidence. You're going to look at complex problems and you're going to try and do something about them because it matters to all of us and to our kids. Just getting a position, anyone can do that, but it's never going to satisfy your life. But having the skills that are going to allow you to make better organizations, create a better South Africa, create a better world, and give you the confidence that that isn't somebody else, that's you. You've got to do that, actually. That's what your life mission is. You've got to do that. And what's more, you can, however you feel you can't, or however much an imposter you feel, that you really can. That's what an MBA should do. And that's what a good MBA does. It tests you, but it's not arrogant. It always pushes the boundaries. And you should, and people are scared to ask questions of the faculty or to challenge. They think they'll get a bad mark. Well, actually, I think that's a very poor model. I think that people should challenge. They should risk getting a bad mark because they're going to upset somebody. Because if somebody comes up with a really bad idea, they probably need upsetting, especially if it's the person in front of you who's teaching. You should be able to challenge. And those are the people we want to build. We want to have people who challenge, but in a constructive way. Sorry, you got me excited there, and I must stop talking.
Oh, that's okay. I challenged one of my assignment structures, and they gave me a distinction. So don't be afraid to challenge. You see,
but you have to know how to challenge cleverly. So if you just challenge because you just want to be the rebel, it doesn't show you have substance. But what you do in an MBA, you teach people to think well and to structure their thinking, not in a sort of conventional way, but to be able to produce good arguments in any context. And I don't mean an argument to win. When I say an argument, a good set of reasoning for something, a good set of support for something, and something that is authentic, not because you want to win, but because it's real. And that's the sort of leader we want in this world.
Yeah.
I've been very boring.
Absolutely.
Sorry, very boring. Yeah.
No, not at all. I did say two things, but you kind of answered my second one in your answer. So that's good. No, that's all good. So let's talk about who else is in the call. We've got Dr. Janet Bremer, who runs the PGDip program for Henley, Africa. Hi, Janet. We thought we'll kick off because I know that this session this evening is just incorporates both the PGDip and the MBA. I know we've kicked off with quite a big MBA flavor, but that's not to say we can't give some good attention to the PGDip. It's a very good, I've got two friends doing it actually, and they keep telling me how radical it is. So Janet, can we talk a little bit about the PGDip program?
Yes, I'd actually love to. Thanks, John. Thanks very much. A lot of people do the MBA because they think it's a stepping stone straight into the MBA, and they don't really take it for the value that it actually gives them. And I think there's a couple of things I'd really just love to mention. The higher you get in organizations, the more you need to depend on your own personal mastery, whether it's via leadership, management, or whatever you'd like to call it. It's about your personal mastery. And at Henley, on the PGDip, this is really the testing space, the crucible, the cauldron, whatever you want to call it, where you put into a situation where you've got incredible faculty, you've got peers from across the board in terms of industry, positions, etc. And you've got a learning environment that's really very dynamic. They say that adults learn via reflection. And so part of that process is incorporated into how we actually teach on the PGDip, because there's reflective papers that get handed in all the way through. And what we're looking for is not head knowledge. That's great. That's really great. But what we really, really want from you is to take the learning on board and to absorb it, to process it, to test it, and then decide through that whole process that you accept it, reject it, use it, don't use it, but that you actually test it. And that's what we're really looking for. So we want you to become part of your learning. It's not an arm's length, just in your head, cram for an exam, and it's all over and I've got a piece of paper. So that's one thing that Henley really does, and does in a really magical way. And what happens in that process is that you gather confidence. And that's often another thing which we don't take into account for why we don't get the recognition, the progress, or the job satisfaction that we would really like to have. And so through this forcing you into doing assignments and testing your knowledge and grounding, your learning in a very real environment, confidence grows in that actual process. So as you're struggling, your knowledge base is actually growing. And through engaging with people in syndicate groups, in the class as a whole, you get to understand how other people learn. So it is a really, really vibrant kind of learning environment. And through our curriculum, we help you grow your ability to deal with complexity. And John, that's, I think, the last thing I'd like to really say about it, is that all of us really would like to be able to understand, grapple with, and come up with better solutions. I'm not saying the answer, because sometimes it takes us a while to get there, but that's what the PGDip is about. Yes, it's intense. Some people who do the MBA and they've done the PGDip, Yusuf will back me up on this, and I don't know if your friends will, John, but they say often that the PGDip is a lot more intense than the MBA. We squeeze it into a year, and you don't have a moment's rest, but it is also the most incredible learning journey. So yeah, that's a little bit about the PGDip.
Janet, can I just quickly ask, what's your perspective about, and I'm sure you get this a lot, as just as much as I get, about the PGDip being a bridging program to the MBA?
Okay, Yusuf, that's a really good question. So what we do is we, as part of the process, you learn how to write academically, you learn how to reference, but best of all, you learn and grow and develop your critical thinking skills. The ability to make a good argument. And that's what it's about. So John mentioned earlier about getting a distinction, and he broke the rules. Well, we're not hugely big on rules at Henley. What we are big on is, can you put your case solidly? Can you put in a really good argument, whether it's a reflective paper or a position paper, or whether or not it's part of a group assignment? It's how you argue and how you think. So yes, Yusuf, I would say that it is the best stepping stone into an MBA, any MBA, but we like to think that Henley is the best MBA. And I know John's going to have a comment to say about that. He says we don't compare ourselves to other business schools. But we are the best, John. What can I say?
You know, we actually have a philosophy. We never do, at least I don't, I never do competitive selling. We've got some really good business schools in South Africa. UCT is wonderful. Gibbs is wonderful. Stellenbosch is great. Rhodes is wonderful. And I'm vice chair of the South African Business Schools Association. So I try and promote all of them. We need them all because there is such an education need. Why people come to Henley are 2 or 3 reasons. One is that we are an international business school. We have the only international MBA in the country, and you get an international qualification as well. Secondly, we're really friendly, and we're family friendly. We're trying to be family friendly, so we're flexible as well. And thirdly, I think is we really care. I know it sounds stupid, but we're not here to make, we're all educators, we're professional educators. What we've done for a long time in our lives, we don't really have to prove a lot to ourselves or anything. We've done what we love, what we do. We love educating. We love to see people being successful. We're trying to put people out there who are going to be leaders in the economy, not for their ego and status, but because we need those leaders to build a better South Africa. So we're trying to get them out there. And our job is to make sure we're putting out people who are going to be those leaders. So it's a wonderful service. It's a great life to live, to try and educate people. So I personally, I only praise all the other business schools and just tell you why people come to us. And that's it. But, you know, a little bit of friendly rivalry is always a good thing. Yeah.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Janet. Very good, very good. I can just tell you from personal experience that the family part's quite good. I had a family issue, and in 8 minutes, I was sorted out to extend my stuff to work around my family. So that was really quick, and it was really, really cool. Just understanding, and I like that. Maybe I could just chat to you both, actually, Janet and John, about the fact that Henley globally is a business school that is known to focus on personal development more than most other business schools. Would you say that's accurate?
And you're on mute.
can I be on mute after 8 months of Zooming? I'll still do that. I mean, talk about slow. One of the things that's really interesting about the MBA is people do it for this reason. They want to, maybe they want to build their confidence. Maybe they want to know that they've got a master. Maybe they need those skills, or they need to be able to articulate and talk in those business ways so that they can talk about complex problems or be convincing at senior level or whatever. But it's amazing. I think nearly everyone says, like, I did it for that reason. But the thing I mostly got out of it was this wonderful sense of personal growth I did when I did my MBA. And it's not that you're not there now. What it does, it gives you a confidence to let more of yourself into the arena, really. Let yourself be more there. And so I think often we're either sometimes overconfident, or we're just not really confident about our thinking and that we can do this. It teaches you that you really can. And I think that personal growth and that development is hugely important. It's not an arrogance at all. It's just a quiet understanding of the fundamental capability we really have and how you can actually bring your heart into work. And that matters, because what you have to do at work is create value. You know, money follows the value. I mean, you can make money, but you know, that's not what it's about. It's creating value in life, and the money will follow you. And that's it for me. Janet?
I've been racking my brains because it's really sometimes hard to put things into words. But I think one of the key things is going into a learning program. Often we want to establish a network. You come away from a Henley program with much more than a network. You come away from a program with having made friendships that last. Months afterwards, even years afterwards, our students are still chatting on the WhatsApp groups that we happen to set up. And there's a huge amount of camaraderie, but also help that people extend over a very long period of time. And that, for me, speaks volumes about the program, the nature of the program, how we create relationships. We deliberately call the people that teach faculty, not lecturers. So they facilitate putting your own learning into the arena, and they draw the best from you. And they do that for the people around you on the program as well. So you're getting an incredible benefit. And I think we speak about lifelong learning in very revered tones, but sometimes we don't really get what that means. We don't get to experience it. I think I can very confidently say that this is something that you experience at Henley. There's this yearning when you stop, a yearning that you want to carry on learning. You want to carry on experiencing that feeling that you get mentally, emotionally, and from a knowledge point of view. So I think that's my response. I could carry on talking for another 20 minutes without breathing about our Henley programs, and particularly about our PGDip. I am really just so proud of it, and the amount of learning that it triggers and how it frames the rest of your learning journey for you. So that's it from me.
Brilliant, Janet. So maybe on that note, because I see a couple of questions, particularly Kamokelo is asking a couple of questions. Wants to know about the costs and stuff, wants to know about if the module credits carry over, is the program open or closed. Could we possibly, Janet, just spend a minute or two going through the actual structure of the PGDip, and then once we've done that, we'll move over to Yusuf and do the MBA.
Yes.
Super.
Okay, so I always ask briefly, Yusuf knows for me to stop here because this is really critical, and I'll be very quick on this. So this is a ladder of learning. Ignore everything else for the moment and just look at that NQF 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. In order to earn a full NQF level, another word for it is a full qualification. That qualification needs to have a minimum of 120 credits. And I don't want to bore you with the details, but if you've studied a program and it's less than 120 credits, then it's not a full qualification under the SACWA rules. So please, whether you study with Henley or elsewhere, if you're looking for a full qualification, please make sure that it's 120 credits, whether it's you or somebody that you know in your family, etc. So this is something to look out for. Also make sure that the qualification, if they say it's a qualification, has a SAQA ID number. It's usually about 5 digits, and you can plug in NQF and that number, or SAQA and that number, and it will take you to the SAQA website, and it'll tell you who the institution is and an outline of the program. So please, just a way to test before you spend your very well hard-earned money. So if you look at the other stuff, apart from the NQF on this, these are the different programs that Henley actually offers. You'll notice that all of them, it says PGDip, but another name for the PGDip is PGDMP, which is also management practice. So it's the higher certificate in management practice, the advanced certificate, the advanced diploma, and then the postgraduate diploma in management practice. So that's all I'd like to say about that, except for the fact that once you get to the 8, you would then do the MBA, which is the 9, and that has a whole lot more credits, but you'll see that a bit later. So see if you can spot it. There's a question for you. Okay, Yusuf, thank you. All right, you can hop on to the next one. And the next one, I think we've chatted through quite a lot of this. All right. Okay, so usually our programs are campus-based. At the moment, because of COVID, we are completely online. The slide that you can see now is the first of 2 slides, and it will show you at the top yellow one there, it says block 1, then block 2, block 3. Later, Yusuf will move on to the next slide, but essentially there's 6 blocks. Then you'll see systemic management practice is the first theme. Innovative wealth creation is the second theme. When we get on to the next one, you'll see the next one. But then you'll see underneath 5 days, 4 days. So altogether, the program is 23 contact days. 23 contact days, and that is spread over approximately 11 months. So you'll come in for 5 days, Monday to Friday, the whole day, 9 until 5, sometimes a bit later because you guys don't want to go home. And then you have about 6 weeks break. And in that period of time, you hand in position papers, reflective papers, and you work on group work. So right from the very beginning, you start on a group project. It's got to be a real thing. And you work on real problems and you go through a real process. All right. Yusuf, you can carry on to the next one. I just want you to notice the systems thinking, and then in the last block there, action learning. So those 2 threads go all the way through. They are kind of linked right from the very first block through to the end. And I mentioned to you, it's very much about applied. You apply what you learn as you go. You test the theory. You see if it works for you. All right, and then you've got the 3rd module, which is managing value streams, which is covered over 2 blocks. And then you've got the 6th block where you do your presentation. That's only 2 days long. I've mentioned some of the assessments. Yes, you do have to work in groups, but the majority of our students get to the end of that and say that was the best possible experience that they could ever have had, is in spite of the fact that group learning is challenging, it's also a good way to form friendships and also to really learn from others in a very direct way, in a very intense way. All right, so I think I've spoken about I did mention the position papers. There's also 1 open book exam that most people stress about, but it's open book, and it's all about an application again. Thanks, Yusuf. All right, we do have a variation of the PGDip, and we call it the PGDip Africa. This is a program that is delivered part-time in the evenings, usually every once a week for about an hour and a half, and it will never go to campus. So you can study this program from just about anywhere. So that's the key difference. It is the same program, same accredited program, but takes a very different perspective. So if you could imagine yourself sitting in the middle of Africa, and whether it's Nairobi, wherever, you could study this program from there. Our faculty is mostly from the rest of Africa. and the perspective they take is an African focus. So we look at case studies, we look at virtual reality segments, shot in African markets, shot in African businesses, etc. And that's woven into the curriculum of the program, whether it's you're looking at finance, whether you're looking at strategy, leadership, whatever it is, it's woven in very intensely. So you're able to study this even if you have a full-time job and can't get time away, or if you can't get onto campus when we eventually do go back to campus, or if you can't get the full day away from work. So great program, and we're running it this year for the first time, and we are having the most exciting journey. We really and truly are. Louise Claassen designed the program, and she's our program director, and she's not on tonight, but she has a lot to say. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them after this, or I'm sure Louise would be happy to answer as well. Thanks, Yusuf. I think that's about it. I think this is the architecture for the PGDip Africa. And it speaks a little bit to the different themes. So you'll see the modules are essentially the same. They're just in a slightly different order. And then there's a very key threads going through of strategy, systems thinking, leadership, and then the action learning, which we frame as the African Business Project. As part of this, you do need a VR headset. It's compulsory. And as I mentioned, a lot of the program content is based around the VR side of things. Thanks, Yusuf. So altogether, this is 40 weeks long, and it's once a week. The current program is running every Thursday night. For the program starting next year in April, this will be every Wednesday night. And you can see the other modules there. You can see the other themes going through. Also, there'll be assignments, position papers, reflective papers on this program. But you will work on an individual project, which is different from the normal PGDip, as we call it. This one, you'll work on an individual project. Okay, thanks. I think the next one is about the typical week. So if you have, so usually, say, for example, leadership, you would do in the first block, you do 2 weeks. You'd have key questions, anchor theme questions that are given to you at the beginning of the week. And then you work on forum discussion. There's an expectation that you actually take part in that online. You will have been through your readings, been through any videos. And then at the end of that learning week, what you have is a session with the faculty member and with the class. So you all sit in a Zoom session, and the discussion is very vibrant and very unstructured and very informal. And then after the 2-week period, there's a form of assessment. So very different kind of engagement, but one that's working exceptionally well for the class at the moment. Thank you. Thanks, Yusuf. Okay, I think, Yusuf, you can talk about this now. You're really good at this. I'm going to leave it to you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Janet. Appreciate that. Really good at that. Wow, thank you. Okay. What will you get in terms of the postgraduate diploma? So our qualifications are all registered with SAQA, which is the South African Qualifications Authority. And so a qualification to be registered and accredited and recognized in South Africa should have a SAQA ID, SAQA ID. And Janet always tells us that if you see any program anywhere without a SAQA ID, that means it's not an accredited program. So we always wary of that. So we are accredited by the Council of Higher Education, Department of Education. And this SAQA qualification is 120 credits, which makes for a full NQF 8 qualification. So in terms of admission requirements, you need a bachelor's degree or an advanced diploma, or for that matter, any qualification that is a fully accredited NQF level 7 qualification will allow you access. Now, it could be a bachelor's in business administration, a bachelor of commerce, or for that matter, any bachelor's degree will allow you access onto the postgraduate diploma. Then there's 3 years of minimum management experience expected. And when we talk about management experience, and this is now what I'll explain for both postgraduate diploma as well as the MBA program, Management experience is defined at Henley in a way where it's not only about people reporting to you as being management experience, but also where your area of function has an influence to management decision making, or it has an impact to the bottom line of the organization. So any area of function that you are currently busy with that has a impact within the organization and which you can showcase and provide evidence to would be regarded as management experience. Okay. In terms of the RPL, again, I'm going to talk about both the MBA and the PGDip. Government has allowed for the opportunity for students that may have sufficient exposure and experience to gain access into a program, even though they may not have the qualifying NQF level to get onto the program. And this process is called the RPL, or recognition of prior learning. Now, it is definitely a more challenging process in terms of getting access onto a program. And the reason for that is, of course, that on one side, government has made sure that there's this beautiful initiative to allow for people to get onto a program. But on the other side, they have capped it at 10%. And of course, there's reasoning behind that, for the reason that people that have gone through the normal NQF levels, who should be given that opportunity as well to be able to access the program. So it's a 10% cap that government has given us. And what that means is basically is that if you have, for example, 40 students in a class, it means that we can take on 4 more students into that class. And then for every other class, we would work out the 10% ratio and allow people to go in. Now, why I say the RPL process is challenging, because normally we get a high influx of RPL applications coming through, and then those batches of RPL applications goes through to an external RPL committee. They then choose the people that they feel would be appropriate for the qualification, and those people we put onto a waiting list. And then as and when we complete or fill in the 10% ratio in the classrooms, they are taken off from that waiting list. So if you feel that you have the capability or the skills to be able to get onto a program, or the management experience to get onto a program, then feel free to connect with myself or a Planisha that you'll see on the website, to be able to provide the RPL forms to you. And both the application form plus the RPL form has to be completed simultaneously and then be sent through to us. So the normal PGDip is the PGDip Africa is 12 months part-time. And the normal PGDip has 23 contact days, as Janet has spoken. And your PGDip Africa has plus minus 40 virtual evening sessions that happen every Thursday. And there's a build up to that Thursday where you have to be doing work on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday within your groups or within your classrooms, to be able to then have this kind of reflection on the Thursday evenings that you have these virtual evening sessions. So the enrollment dates for 2021 for the postgraduate diploma by itself is the 22nd to the 26th of Feb. That's the first intake. And then the second intake is in March, which is 8th to the 12th of March. There are other intakes that will come after that, but these are the first 2 intakes that will be available to you. The cost, we're quite excited, is the fact that we've kept the cost exactly the same as 2020. So you'll be paying 2020 fees for 2021 at 88,200. Your NQF level is 8. And yes, there are intakes available. I do know that the February intake is getting to a point where it's full, but then you still have an opportunity to get onto the March intake. Now, one of my biggest advice to students is to apply as soon as possible. At Henley, there isn't any opening dates or closing dates for applications, so you could apply at any time. It's based on a first come, first serve basis. And by you applying early, it gives you an opportunity to be able to have a bigger choice of which intake you'd like to go into. And of course, having an acceptance form from us allows for you to gain leverage in terms of funding or any other area that you would like to be able to get yourself organized for to get onto the program. So that's the enrollment dates. And John, before I go on to the MBA, is there anything you'd like to add?
I mean, if you mean this, John, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, I think that's all good. Thank you, Yusuf. I guess because I'm not sure who in the attendees is here to talk about the PGDip or the MBA. What I do know from some experience is that if you're aiming for the MBA and for some reason you don't get in, and the application is it's quite rigorous because obviously it's a highly accredited qualification. So if for any reason you don't get into that, it's worth considering the PGDip because for me, when I finish this, I just want to do another thing. Not because of climbing a ladder. I mean, that's wonderful to do, but it's to be within the academic environment for as long as I possibly can in my life. And learning, as Janet mentioned, the amazing academic writing, referencing, just the things that will make your life easier should you do the MBA afterwards. And if you complete the PGDip, then of course you can apply for the MBA. So it's not really, I mean, you can see it as a stepping stone, but really, it's getting into a high quality educational ecosystem. And when you leave, just with a PGDip, you'll be like, I mean, I can't believe our friends are now sort of sending me little messages and drawing models. They never used to do that. Now they've become a little bit of a bother because they keep doing that. Anyway, but should we move on to the MBA?
Sure, no problem, John. And just to add on what John was saying, there's this creativeness that's strewn across all of the different modules, both on the PGDip and the MBA. And that's where you see these little figures that people are drawing, students are drawing all the time and getting to where they want to. Okay, so regarding the exams of MBA, one of the key aspects and one of the major descriptors that you'll see coming through with all of our MBA programs is the idea of flexibility. And so that is where you will find that students are attracted to. Our average age of our students are around 41, and the flexibility comes in a sense where you have 4 modules in the first year, 4 modules in the second year, and 1 module in your last 6 months. And they are purposefully placed at least 1.5 to 2 months from each other. And during that 1.5 to 2 month gap is where you'll be doing your assignments after attending a 3-day workshop. And the other aspect of the uniqueness of this MBA is the fact that instead of doing 4 or 5 subjects at the same time or 4 or 5 modules at the same time, at Henley you will do 1 module, which is the first module is operations, which is your processes and systems. And you come in for 3 days, get this mental stimulation and models and concepts that you discover. And then you will go away for 1.5 to 2 months where you will then apply that to your own space, your own reality, and be able to then complete an assignment in that form. And once you have completed with that, become a master in that area, then only would we move you to the next module. So there isn't any 5 or 6 subjects and assignments to do for all of them and deadlines to do for all of them, because you end up then chasing deadlines, which doesn't actually allow you to have this deep dive and gain this insight into your program. Now, I did speak about the fact that you have these 3-day workshops. What I forgot to mention is that for these 3-day workshops, we have the best of faculty from UK and around the world that come through for your workshop. And the cool part is that these faculty are the same faculty that would lecture to our students or facilitate to our students in UK, in Germany, in Delhi, in Denmark, etc. So here's a cool idea. Instead of going to UK for the next 2.5 years and paying in pounds for an MBA with the best facilitators and doing your assignments, you could do the very same assignments and have the same facilitators and enjoy the same experience in South Africa, okay? Which is going to save you quite a lot of rands. So having the best world facilitators and the best world skills and development available to you is one side of the MBA that you go through. Parallel to this is the idea of Henry putting a lot of focus on your personal development, on building self, on being able to introspect and bring the best that you can be. And this is a learning journey that runs through the entire 2.5 years, so that when you get to that end, you're not only just transformed from being the best manager and leader possible in terms of skills, etc., but also be the best you, okay? So these personal development assignments are strewn across your entire MBA program, which I'll show to you just now. And the idea is that you go through this journey of reflection and be able to come to the best you. I'm just going to quickly play a short video of some of what our students say about the MBA program. Okay, that's wonderful. And so now we don't have a video anymore. Okay, let's move on. Okay, I'll check what's going on there with this technical glitch here. Okay, so let's move into the structure of the program. So your first stage one is where there's 4 modules we spoke about. The first one is your starter workshop or leadership and personal development, which I will come to just now. Let's just get into the next 3 modules where an exam is based and where your assignments are. So the first module doesn't have an assignment, but the next three do. So I just want to quickly think about any organization, be it a 2-man startup or a multi-millionaire organization. What do you think would be the fundamental pillars that would hold up both these type of industries or organizations? Now, if you think about what would be allow for the success of these organizations, it comes up with 3 obvious areas. Number one is your operations. If you don't have your processes and systems right, that would definitely be detrimental to the organization. And then secondly, your money, basically. If the money is not right and not managed right and not understood right, then there could also be detrimental to your organization. And thirdly, but definitely not, in any way in third position, is the idea of people management. If your people are not right, if you're not managing your people right, then there would definitely be a situation where it could be detrimental as well. So in the Henley MBA, we ensure that you gain or become a master in the fundamental pillars of any business in your first year. And that is why we also have the only exam that you will do through your MBA in your first year as well. So I did mention that for your modules, you'll be going and looking at your own area of function, your own area of or your own reality, and exercise your understanding or your experience through making an assignment in your own space. Now, when it comes to the exam, what we then do is that we give you a case study of a different organization, an external environment, and we then ask you to do a 1-hour slot, 3 slots, 1 hour for process and systems, 1 hour for financial resources, and 1 hour for people management, where you would now engage almost like a consultant in a written exam, providing your views, your arguments, your objectives, etc., about that operations aspect of the case study. And then there's a half an hour break. Then you do an hour again on financial resources about that organization, and so on. So the idea in that first year, I'm sure you would have gained that understanding now, is that it would encapsulate the idea of being able to understand a business, both from a internal environment or within your own workspace or reality, and then testing yourself against an external organization. Now, the first module that you see there is the only module where attendance is compulsory. And the reason for that is because when students come into, or Henley goes under the notion that people that are coming into our program may have not been involved in an academic challenge or a theoretical challenge for possibly 5 or 10 years. So that first module is where we engage your mind, where we fine tune your mind so that you are ready to manage this MBA as you go along. So things that you will gain and discover in that first workshop is your learning style, your personality, and what would work best for you to be able to navigate yourself through this MBA program. Now, all of the other modules I did mention, attendance is not compulsory. However, it would be exceptionally foolish for you not to attend these workshops. We have the world's best coming through, and if you had to go and listen to these people at a conference, you probably would pay a lot of money. So having this input and having this mental stimulation by the best, from faculty will allow for you to have a much more deeper and richer experience in terms of being able to skill yourself the best way possible. The research skills block that you see there is to denote the master classes that we have available for you. This is part and parcel of your MBA, inclusive of the fee, etc. And these master classes are recurring master classes. So if you miss one, you could very well join the next one. And these are there in layman's term to be as a form of tuition to get you sharpened up in the areas that you may feel lacking. So one of the most famous and one of the most important master classes that you could attend is research skills. Remember, as a master student, you actually are a researcher, a full researcher. You'll have to be looking at different philosophies, different thoughts and ideas and concepts and models to be able to bring that into your current area of reality or your current workspace and be able to get an assignment that's done. So we assist you in terms of becoming the best, the most effective and most efficient researcher possible for your assignments so that you can have successful assignments done. Your personal development assignments, there are 2 that are expected in the first year. And then a question that I always get asked about is, Yusuf, how much of time do I need for my MBA? So roughly 600 hours for the first year. And to make sense of that, it would break down to at least an average of about 1.5 to 2 hours a day that you need to be spending. So if you're early morning waker, you could wake up a bit earlier and do that in the morning. I myself am a nocturnal type of person. After supper, I'd like to have a bit of a snooze and then, work from about 10 to 12 or 11 to 1, where I feel my mind is at its peak. So whatever works for you. I recently spoke to a senior executive from finance division in ESCOM, and she said she likes to do these batch type of studies every 2 to 3 days. And the reason why she says she likes to do that is because in that first hour, she kind of gets herself to the sweet spot of focus. And then once she's there, she wants to continue running for a couple of hours. So whatever works best for you, but it should average out to at least 1.5 to 2 hours a day. So having gained the best or understanding the fundamental pillars of business in your first year, the next obvious step is to take things to the next level. And that's where you would get into strategy as your first module. Your second module is international business, where you look at latest international business trends from around the world, what's working, what's not working, and bring that into your own reality. The third module that you'll be seeing is strategic marketing. Now, we all do know that marketing is about attracting people to your business to gain business success, etc. But think a step further. You as a manager of your department, or you as a handling your certain area of function and being responsible and accountable for that, how are you showcasing that within your internal organization or to your internal stakeholders? That's a form of strategic marketing that you would also get into in that module. And then the last module is reputation and responsibility. We all know it just takes one incident, one situation, one wrong social media message out there for it to be exceptionally detrimental to your organization or to your department. How geared up are you as a manager and a leader to be able to manage those kind of situations? And it's possibly going to happen. So you really need to have the best understanding of being able to manage those situations. Again, there will be master classes. There'll be one personal development assignment expected here. And for the second year, you also would need to be spending at least 1.5 to 2 hours doing your assignments. And that brings us to our final stage, which is the last 6 months. Having gained the best understanding of the fundamental pillars for the business in the first year, taking things to the next level in the second year, it culminates into your final module, which is leadership and change, becoming the best leader possible and affecting positive change around you. So I'm just going to skip the management research and go to the elective. You have a choice of about 10 to 13, 10 to 12 different types of electives that you could choose from. Some of them are African-based, and some of them are based from an international perspective as well. And these could be done via online learning or distance learning, etc. Then the yellow plane denotes one of the most exciting electives that are also available, and that is the International Study Visit elective. So this is an elective that you could nominate yourself to go for. It's optional. And this would, if you do nominate yourself, you'll go with your group of people from South Africa as well as your facilitator and go to a country that we would have chosen for you for that year. You would then meet other students from other campuses, Henry campuses at that place. And then from there, you would be regrouped with different students from different campuses being part of your group. Then together as a group, with your facilitator, you'd be taken to a high-level organization, a medium-level organization, sometimes possibly a low-level organization. And the idea would be almost that you would play a role like a consulting group, looking and observing and understanding that organization. And then together as a group, you would provide a presentation to an academic panel. And that would then be your assessment that you'll be that you'll be taken through. So this process of this international study visit, or the period, would be about a 2 to 3 week period. And very important to note here is that everything that I've spoken to up to this point, including your textbooks and your material and all the experiences you go through and your master classes, etc., is inclusive of the MBA fee that we provide to you. However, if you are looking at taking the international study visit elective, which is optional, there would be an additional price for that. And we would not be able to give you an accurate amount for that price, for that module, until you get to your last stage. And of course, the reason is obvious because of foreign currency, etc. But to give you a rough estimate, it's roughly about 3,500 to 4,000 pounds, which works out to about 60 or 70,000 Rand for that international study visit module. Now, you would notice that we've got 800 hours here for a 6-month period. And the reason for that is because of the fact that you would need to be doing your dissertation in this last 6 months. And we at Henry call this the Management Research Challenge. So you have two choices here in terms of being able to do your Management Research Challenge. The one is where, like a normal future research dissertation, where you would look at a topic that you are passionate about, something that you're interested about, and propose a topic to an academic panel and the academic committee, basically, or the research committee, and they would then approve it, and then you would carry on with your research in the normal fashion. There's another alternative which talks to our practical learning type of experience, and this is called the internal business project. And this is where you would look at a current project that you are currently working with in your own workspace and use that project as a basis of an action learning research. And the idea behind that would be that as you go through this project in your own workspace, you would record the steps being taken. You would research and immerse all of that research and knowledge and experience into that project. If you had come to a decision or have to make a decision about a certain aspect of that that project, you would show how your research has allowed for you to come to that decision. And then once the decision is made, you would record the outcomes of that decision, get different perspectives and understandings, possibly via interviews, etc., to be able to understand different perspectives about that outcomes, etc. So this would be a real live project that you would use to be able to complete your dissertation or your IBP. So that, in a nutshell, is basically your program. And this is a holistic view of the entire MBA program. Like I explained, stage 1 with your 4 modules, your assignments that you need to do, your 2 major assessments that you'll see in the red circles, and your personal development work that runs through the entire program, as well as the yellow plane again, you're denoting your MBA, your international study visit. So another question that we get asked about quite a lot is, what's the support like at Henry? You know, And I think that's one of the feathers of our cap that make us the number one MBA business school in South Africa. You know, the questions I get asked is, being an international MBA program, um, do you have the support that we require? So full-time workshop, you have a facilitator that obviously that come from overseas and from around the world, but you will have access to them via chat, possibly via Zoom as well, so that you could speak to them and ask them questions about the different aspects of your assignments, etc. You will have academic faculty that will also be available on your portal that you can gain access to. You have a program manager that's available to you. And this program manager is based in South Africa. They are allocated to your class, and they are your go-to person for everything and anything that you may need, be it an academic challenge, be it an administrative challenge, or be it a financial challenge for that matter. They will connect the dots. They're highly experienced, mature people that would ensure that they connect the dots for you to be able to solve your problems and to make sure that you're moving forward all the time. We have an academic tutor that sits in your class for every class that you are in. And this academic tutor would generally have an MBA from Henley already. So I'm sure you could see the benefit from that. You could very well, be mentored, be coached by this person to be able to ensure that that you get over the hurdles, and they can very well, show you the red flags as you go through your journey through the MBA program. The online learning environment we spoke about, we have the world's best research databases available for you, like EBSCO and Emerald, etc. So you could very well have research to last you a lifetime in terms of being able to explore and dive as deep as you want in being able to get information that you require to be able to complete your MBA program. So what do you need to join the MBA? I've spoken about it. It's exactly the same as the PGDip, except that instead of a degree that you need for the PGDip, you would require an NQF level 8 program, an NQF level 8 qualification. That could be a postgraduate diploma, an honors qualification, or a professional qualification, like, for example, CIMA. That would be at the NQF level 8, which will then allow you access onto the program. Important also to note is that you need to have access to company data for your assignments. And if your own company is not providing that to you, you have an opportunity to knock on any other company's door, offer them a master's level assignment, provide that feedback to them, almost like a consulting role. Please don't charge them, okay? But you can use that as an opportunity to also showcase yourself and to understand a different organization's processes, procedures, etc. And if that still doesn't work for you, you have the opportunity to look at any JSE listed company. As we know, the information is public, annual reports, etc. So you could use that as a basis for your assignment as well. So I'm sure you know this person. He's going to talk to you quickly about his experience with the MBA. Let's hope it works this time with the videos. Today's no video time. Apologies for that. There's something wrong with our technical side on the camera side. So application checklist, very, very important. At the end of your application form, both for the postgraduate diploma and the MBA, you'll find this checklist. It is exceptionally important that you tick off this and make sure that these documents are here. Unfortunately, admissions cannot move forward with your application documents until these documents are made available. If for some reason you're having some challenge around getting these documents, connect with me or connect with Panisha for PGDip, and we'll be able to assist you and see how best we could get you to overcome those obstacles and get yourself sorted out in terms of a full application so that we could process that for you. One of the key aspects in terms of assessing you for your application is the area of the personal statement, which I spoke about early on. So make sure that you do put a lot of importance to that. We have an academic center that could assist you if you're having difficulties in terms of the academic writing center, sorry. If you're having problems in terms of getting to the end of that personal statement, the support pack that we send to you as part of your application pack has an example of a good personal statement. So you could also look at that to guide you along to complete that personal statement effectively. So the intakes for your MBA, 2 intakes in March, 2 intakes in May, 1 intake in June. And remember, when you do apply to us, you have the choice of deciding which intake you'd like to go into. However, I must put a red flag up to say that our first intake in March is almost full, and the second one is getting full quite rapidly as well. So my biggest advice, apply as soon as possible so that you have, you don't want to be disappointed in not being able to get into the intake that you want to, or to get started with your MBA as soon as possible. Our financing options, we have a few options available on the MBA side. The first option is where you could pay upfront and get a discount for that. The second option is where you could pay 2 lump sums, 1 lump sum before you start and 1 before your last 6 months. The third option is where you could pay before each stage or before each year. And then we also have an exciting opportunity for those that would like to pay on a monthly installment plan. Standard Bank is a huge client of ours, so we've gained leverage with them for them to guarantee that they would provide a rate to our Henley students which would be lower than what they offer to the public. So that could be a monthly installment plan up to 5 years, or a revolving credit plan that they have in place where you only borrow for the first year, and then as you're paying back towards that, excuse me, as you're paying back towards that, you can then be able to draw for the second year from the same monies, and then do the same for the last 6 months. So if you are interested in that type of finance plan, feel free to connect with me, and I can provide all the information through to you. So not so far away, guys. 2.5 years may seem far away, but just think about how quick the last 2.5 years have gone. The amazing thing with the MBA is that you can graduate in South Africa because we have a graduation here, and then you have an opportunity to also graduate in UK because you can fly up. Your name will be conferred and awarded at that graduation. If you are there, you can collect your certificate. If you're not there, it will be couriered down to you. So we always joke and say this is the only MBA ever where you can attend 2 graduations for your MBA program. Okay, so that's it from my side, John. Over to you.
Super. Thank you, Yusuf. Very good. I'm always happy to hear these things because you keep saying we're not far away, and I'm not far from finishing. I just got to keep going. In fact, I'm working on an assignment tonight because you've got to use every moment you can. When you get a moment, do something. Read a chapter, do a summary, get it done, and then it goes quickly. So I'm actually in stage 3, and I must say it's what I love about this program is how it starts off really gently, and you think, oh, I thought the MBA was like really hard, and it's really easy. And the next thing, you just get ramped up, but it's in such a way that you don't really realize how much you're doing. And when you look back, you go, wow, it's quite amazing. So that's very, very good. I'm just checking to see any questions. I see Janet's been talking to and so that's all good. If there are any other questions, would be great to get them. You can pop them in the chat. You can put them in a Q&A. I know that people are anxious because the president's speaking. I've got that on the background as well in silent. He's basically saying a lot of the same things he's been saying, but he is standing, which is not always good. Apparently, when he's standing, he gives big news. When he's sitting, it's more calm news. So he is standing for those who are interested. But let's see what he says. Are there any other questions about the MBA or the PGDip? I can promise you that if you get hold of Yusuf or any of the people on the team, you'll get lots and lots of really good info. I know we're excited to kick off the new academic year after this break. I certainly am, because hopefully I'll be finished in August, and then it'll be my my last one for at least 6 months while I figure out what I'm going to do next. So if there are any questions, we'd love to get them on the chat or the Q&A. So let me have a look. We have nothing open on the Q&A. On the chat, it was just Otlomaleng, and we have no other questions at this stage. So, I mean, I'm hoping people are just going to contact you, Yusuf, and get the application forms. I also believe we have a recording of an application clinic, how to get your MBA application filled in correctly by a real expert. I believe it's Elsa, also part of our team. And she's really good at that, much better than I am. I thought the application was the first assignment. It was quite exciting because I thought, wow, this is my first MBA assignment. Let's see if I pass. And it was a lot of fun. But the truth is, I'm glad it was tricky because I want my MBA to be quite highly accredited and rigorous. I mean, I don't want to have an MBA which anyone can just get. I mean, like I said, I've got neck tattoos, so I've got to have a very serious piece of accreditation if I would like to remain employable. So I'm glad mine is going to be it's a really good MBA. That's all I know. I did a bit of shopping around because I look mad, but I do a lot of research, and yeah, I think I chose well. So that's good. I'm not sure if there are any questions. Is there anyone on the panel would like anybody on the panel would like to say before we thank everybody?
Yeah, sure. Just from my side, if you still want to catch up or be able to apply and so on, please ensure that there's an easier way of connecting with me if you can't get me on the phone or via email. On our MBA webpage, if you scroll right down, at the bottom is an inquiry box. And if you put your information in there, it comes directly to me. And I'll be able to then, within that same day, be able to connect with you and be able to, to assist you in terms of that. Please, please, please apply as soon as possible. It really does help in terms of being able to, and we could possibly get you an answer, a decision, hopefully before the end of December, else it will be in mid-Jan or towards the beginning of Feb. So applying now is free of charge. It allows for you to be able to gain a decision. If you say no at that point after getting a decision, after you've been accepted, then that's cool. We can either defer you or put it on hold or whatever it is without any implication or obligation to you. But the pros is, of course, the fact that you are able to then get on as quick as possible once you are ready to get on.
On that point, Joseph, I mean, I'm staring at the president's paused face in his live stream. I just wanted to say that I started my MBA face-to-face a couple of years ago, and I've now just finished my second module online. And I have to say, I actually like it because I can do it in my own home, and I can still talk to my work colleagues like this in this format. We work fairly quickly because when you're all online already, it's amazing how your reference material suddenly becomes much more accessible than it is in an MBA classroom. So that's good. I like this kind of live environment where I've got access to live kind of stuff going on for input to my work group. So I thought this was all going quite well. There's 2 or 3 people in support in the background in every session, which is really, really handy because I think everyone's curious about where it's going to go virtually. Everyone's hyper attentive. So you feel like this kind of astronauty kind of, you've got backup and it's quite cool. So I like the virtual space. It works for me, that's for sure. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to add that.
100%. And just to, also inform people that our software systems are the best in the world. Canvas and Collaborate in the top 10 virtual platforms, learning management system platforms. So we're quite proud about the fact that, everything that you could possibly do in a face-to-face classroom is possible via the virtual platform. You could very well speak to any student that you wanted in the class, speak to the facilitator directly, be able to break away into classrooms with your group and then come back to the main classroom. And then, anything that the facilitator writes, anywhere, you'll be able to become visible to you. So anything that you normally do in the classroom is done on the virtual platform.
Yeah. So I think
I wouldn't mind saying.
Please, John, go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for being here. I know it's an awful lot to take on board when you get all this stuff coming at you and your mind is bewildered, but there's never a best time to do an MBA or a program, or to have a child, or to buy a house, or to buy a farm. I mean, all these things are just always, there's always a trade-off. I would say that it's very rare that we get people regretting the trade-off they've done to do this, and it's always brave to make an investment in yourself. Yusuf's email is spelled, oh yes, he's got that right, he's corrected it, thank you. So it's up to you. I suggest you look around. What you'll find at Henley is some pretty enthusiastic people who are very grounded. We're part of a large international business school that's got real substance. It's the largest operation that business school has, which is the oldest business school in Europe, is here in South Africa. We've operated in Asia, Germany, Scandinavia, all the way around the world. It's a real operation. You don't always get that feeling when you hear these presentations because it's more about the African side of it. But when you come to Henley, you're coming to a global institution of substance. But our job is to support South Africa and help people do that with our international faculty. So it's a big, substantial, real operation which will give you credits around the world. And I hope you make your choice as well. And we're delighted to talk to you if you'd like to talk to us more at any time. Thank you for your time.
John, I'd love to make absolutely agree with John. I do think that spending time and money on your education is something that you will never regret. Whether you study with us or not, I do think that if there was ever a time, now's the time to be spending that time and energy on your studies. So I think give it some very careful thought, and we're here to answer any questions that you might have. Henley staff is very accessible. John keeps us very busy, and he makes sure that we keep our focus in the right area, and that's making sure that we work in an environment where there's real people, and so we try to be real people back and understand where you're coming from. So we're here, and we're very happy to answer your questions, not only now, but certainly when you're on campus with us, when you're online with us. However, we're here, we're real people. We've been through the study process. We understand where you're coming from, and we understand that you need to make the right decisions. So that's it. Thanks, John. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you, John. And thank you, Yusuf. But most of all, thank you all for coming to the info session. I hope we've answered your questions. If you have any other questions, please do contact Yusuf. His details are in the chat. And there's a really good team who just help. It's really nice to have helpful people all over the place. So with that, thank you so much for your time. And we hope to see you in our virtual world, you know, if not on the campus, one of the days in the future. But for now, come see us online. It's really good. They even teach people with tattoos. It's crazy. So thanks for joining us. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Take care, guys. Thank you for joining. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.